Considering your responsibility as a tenant in Japan, what can your landlord charge you for? How does your share of responsibility varies over time? What are typical problematic cases that most people don't really seem to have the right answer for? What are factors that can impact the moving out charges requested by your landlord? What can go wrong during the final inspection when moving out? What if your landlord forced you to sign an agreement to pay more? And is there anything you can do to protect yourself from any of these moving out charges? So there are three types of charges your landlord may request from you when moving out from your Japanese rental. They can charge you for cleaning, damage and repair, and for removal. Let's look at these in turn. So when moving out, the landlord will usually hire or pay someone to do a very thorough cleaning of the rental, which may include cleaning the AC units inside and out, removing tough oil and mold stains, and for removing tobacco or pet or other undesirable smells. As for damage and repair, the landlord can ask you to pay for repairing damaged wallpaper and tatami mats, dented floor, or for damage to the furniture if furniture was provided with the rental. You can also be charged for removal fee. What is this? If you left anything, and by anything I really mean anything that wasn't there when you moved in, like garbage bags, a futon, a sofa, curtains, or lights, the landlord may need to pay not only for someone to take these away, but they may have to pay a fee to get rid of them. This is because in Japan, you can just get rid of stuff for free. You need to pay to get rid of anything that doesn't fit into a regular garbage bag. So if you get rid of these through your cities, you'll need to schedule a pickup often 1 or 2 months in advance and pay a fee to the city for this. And I want to point out, it does not matter if your chest of drawers, sofa, or washing machine is still in good condition. However, if your things are in good condition, you should consider selling them through secondhand buy and sell groups or shops. You probably won't get much for it, but at least you won't be charged for getting rid of it. Right? So if you need help with these, you can consult section 611 and 7.2 at the link here on my website for a list of groups, shops to sell your secondhand items, and for companies offering removal and storage service. It might cost you less than if you let your landlord do it. Something that is less well known is that the percentage of responsibility of a tenant in Japan for damages to the property declines over time. Now, it might not seem to make sense, but remember I said the landlord is responsible for the aging of the building inside and out. So it is assumed that eventually everything in the rental, the floor, the wallpaper, the toilet, and so on, will have to be replaced, whether or not it has been damaged by you or any other previous tenants. This is considered a natural aging process of the building and everything within. And as we saw before, the aging process is the responsibility of the landlord. So how does this work exactly? It works like this. Everything in the rental has been divided into categories, each of which assign a given lifetime. So these are guidelines, right? It's not a strict rule, but it's a guideline by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So the longer you have lived in the premise, the lower percentage of cost you should bear for any repair or damage. So the longer you live, the less it should cost you, the more likely you will get your deposit back. Right? For example, the sink is expected to be replaced every 5 years. This is surprisingly short, but and is the only thing that I found in this category. The wallpaper, carpet, and tatami, and even the AC is assumed to have to be replaced every 6 years. Any drawers, bookshelves, and cupboard is assigned a lifetime of 8 years. And in the 15 years categories, you have the toilet and any metal fixtures. And finally, in the 30-year categories is everything that is fixed to the building, to the walls. And the bathtub, you have the bathtub, and that one may seem funny, but also the shoe box, which is the little closet just for your shoes. It's apparently a lifetime of 30 years. Basically, the lifespan of a typical house or building is considered to be 30 in Japan. So everything that is part of the building is also considered to have a lifespan of 30 years. These are the duration according to the guidelines, as I said, by the Tokyo government. Does this apply to other regions? I think it is a fair guideline no matter where you are in Japan, but at the same time, keep in mind these are general guidelines, not reinforceable by laws, and other factors will need to be considered, as we will see shortly. Just want to remind you the information I provide here is for information purposes, it's not for legal purposes. So what can you expect in practice? We saw that in the 6-year category, you have the wallpaper and the tatami floor. That means as soon as you move in, you are responsible for 100% of the damages. After living in the rental for 6 years or more, your responsibility for the wallpaper and tatami floor declines to 0. And the tatami and wallpaper are a typical problematic case that confuse a lot of people. So let's look at these in turn. Let's say you have lived in the rental for 3 years, and over the years, you got one significant damage to only one wall. First, what can the landlord charge you for? Can they charge you to repair only the damaged wallpaper area on the wall, to change the wallpaper on the entire wall, the entire room, or the entire rental? And then how much percentage for this, the repair, should be paid by you? 100%, 50%, 33%, or 0? The answer is, according to the guidelines by the Tokyo government pamphlet, you should be held responsible to pay for the cost to repair the entire wall where the damage occurred, but nothing more. And even then, how much percentage of this repair should be paid by you? Since you have been in the rental for 3 full years, you should be paying 50% of the repair. So the wallpaper is a common misunderstanding. I often see people asking about this on expat groups, and people come up with all sorts of answers, but unfortunately, it is usually never the right one, at least not entirely. And that is why I'm doing this webinar today. Next case. And again, this is a question often asked on expat group, and often nobody really provides the completely correct answer. If you have damaged only one tatami mat in a room with tatami floor, so there are probably at least 5 or 6 mats in there, are you responsible to pay for replacing only the damaged tatami mat or to replace all of the tatami mats in that room? And assuming you have lived in the rental for at least 6 full years, how much should the landlord charge you for this? According to the official guidelines by the Tokyo government, you should be held responsible to pay for changing only the damaged tatami, not the entire tatami floor, as many people believe. But if you have lived there for 6 years or more, actually, your responsibility becomes 0. No matter how much or how many tatami mats you have damaged, you are not responsible to pay for changing any of the tatami mat at all. The lifespan of tatami mat is considered to be only 6 years, after which time the landlord should be responsible to replace them at their own expenses. That being said, which factors can impact the cost for repairs by your Japanese landlord? First, keep in mind that the aging calculation, the lifespan of the wallpaper and tatami, for instance, is based on the date these were last replaced, not when you moved in. So if the wallpaper was already 3 years old when you moved in, after 3 years living in the rental, the wallpaper would, in theory, already be over its lifetime. So you should not bear any of the cost to replace it, no matter what. Second factor relates to the quality of the materials. It is common, particularly in rentals in Japan, to have everything made of poor quality material that won't last very long. The wooden floor is not real hardwood floor, wallpaper is not the best quality, and so on. Accordingly, the landlord can charge you to pay for replacing any of these with top quality materials if it wasn't top quality in the first place. Finally, the landlord can, of course, add labor fees on top of the cost for the materials. That is, I think, only fair. Now, the question is what to look for when trying to decide if the charge by your landlord your landlord is deducting from your deposit or ask you to pay more is fair or not. Now, keep in mind again, these are general guidelines, not strict laws. But the way I see it, this is not actually the official guidelines by the Tokyo government, at least not stated this way. The problem is that your landlord is free to hire a professional of his or their choice for cleaning and repair, but also for removing the stuff you left behind. And they may not hire the cheapest professional or services on the market. While it's not illegal, it can make the bill go up very fast for you. Second of all, the landlord or their representative is the one who will provide the estimate for the cost of repair or cleaning. The landlord doesn't necessarily have a clear chart they can share with you. And so they might charge you more than the real cost for labor and materials. So to be careful about this. Third, finally, in some cases, a dishonest landlord may try to overcharge you for damages or for damages done by a previous tenant or for things that were not new when you moved in and which are past their lifetime, as we discussed before. When completing the move-out inspection, typically someone will meet you at your home on the last day of the rent and we'll check everything with you room by room, write down the estimate, and ask you to sign this before you leave. What if the landlord made you sign an agreement to pay for more on that day, but you realize later that they overcharge you somehow? What can you do? I can talk for all cities and prefectures, but at least in Tokyo, if you sign such agreement, but it turns out the agreement or the charges are considered not in line with the guideline by the Tokyo government, this document will be considered invalid. Now, my personal advice for me would be to, if you suspect anything is wrong, I would personally recommend to not pay anything yet. Right? It's one thing to have the document invalid, it's another thing to get your money back. That can prove very, very difficult. So don't pay anything yet, just wait and just get information about your rights and whether this is okay or not. So where can you get more information or help with this? On this page of my website at isabellegrenon.com/resource for expats in Japan with hyphens, you can check particularly section 3.1, 3.2, and 6.1. You'll find help, information, and free legal consultation services offered by some cities and by the Japanese government. So your first line of inquiry probably going to be the free service by the city or the government. Also, I will encourage you to fill up this checklist found on page 44 of the guidelines by the Tokyo government, which you can find under section 3.2 on my website. So you can fill this up when you move in with maybe your representative or even if you're alone, and send a copy to your landlord. And then you can use the same sheet when moving out to help with the final inspection. So how can you protect yourself as a tenant in Japan from having to pay extra charge when moving out or being overcharged by your landlord? I have 3 general pieces of advice for you. First, I recommend to get familiar with your rights, but also the Japanese expectations when renting and living in Japan, right? You can watch and rewatch this full webinar. It's a good start. But in case of a real problem, you should seek the advice of a legal consultant or call a free consultation service offered by many cities in Japan and in many languages. So who can confirm your rights and obligation depending on your specific situation and location. Second, when moving in, my dear friend David Green, who's here today, suggested to take pictures of damages that were there when you arrive, even if it looks insignificant to you. You can document the relative size of the damage by adding a Japanese coin like this beside the damage area, because they could charge you for making something worse, bigger, right? You can fill up the form on page 44, which is C of the guideline by the Japanese government, and make sure to send a copy of everything to the landlord so that you have it on record. They have it on record. You have it on record. You can send through the real estate agencies managing the rental. Maybe it's ideal so that the agency will have it on record as well. Finally, you can avoid being charged by preventing damages to the rental in the first place, by maintaining the property clean, removing mold as it comes, and by making sure you do not leave anything behind when moving out. And of course, you don't take anything away either. Right?